at Beach. My name is Mark Burrick. I'm here with Travis Mewhirter, who I'm sure you all know. He's the king of beach volleyball. And today we are with one of our elite players, Nicole. She's been to several camps. She's a part of our elite player program on betteratbeach.com, which means that she's eligible for this video analysis session. So during this video analysis, as one of our members, she gets to hang out with me and a guest coach, and she gets her film analyzed after this one. So she gets to attend this one live so that she can ask Travis and me any questions that she wants about ball at the highest level. And after we're done with that, we're going to start a whole new video where me and Travis are going to look at her video individually. So on betteratbeach.com, we have courses, we have really thick workout programs, as well as strategy sessions like this. And this particular video is going to go into the Travis Mewhirter masterclass, which is going to be available in the library for all of our complete and elite players, as well as our coaching programs. Just so you guys know, we are also starting our coaching certification program. So if you're interested in that, I know that it's tough to be a coach and there's a lot of unanswered questions out there. So if you want help, weekly help with designing your practice, figuring out how to run a club, figuring out how to make training sessions work when you've got all different levels and age gaps and everything like that, go ahead to betteratbeach.com/coach and check it out. But aside from that, we have some film to watch. So Travis, what's going on, man?
Just another day in the life, Mark. Went out to the beach this morning, getting Delaney ready. She got back on the sand for the first time the other day, digging some balls, passing balls. She was spiking balls, and then worked out with Evan Corey, dialed him in, and now we're just chatting beach volleyball. So played a little bit, coached a little bit, and now I'm hanging out with you guys.
Man, that's a good day.
Just on the beach all day, man.
It's a great day. I mean, you get to go to the beach. I did a big beach day yesterday. We ran a corporate event with Cisco, and
sweet.
And then Logan got me back on the sand to play a practice. I was like, hey, let me run you and Hagen through a session so that the corporate team can watch a pro level. But Hagen wasn't there, and so he's like, well, you just want to practice with me against Kyle Friend and Leah Tucker. And I was like, oh, no, I don't, but I will if you can't find anyone.
Daddy's back.
We went 1-1. We split.
Boy.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Kyle and Leela are good, man.
God, they're so good. I mean, it was, I ran them through drills in the beginning. So I intentionally gassed them. And I was like, no, I won't do the drills. I'll just feed you. And so I took their legs out from under them before we started.
Wear them out. That's what I do with Try and Cane. We do sprints twice a week after practice. And so here I am just wearing them out. And then I'll run sprints with them after. And Try's like, God, our coach is beating us. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't work out for 2 hours before you ran sprints.
Brilliant. Always a way to keep an upper hand. Okay. So we're doing your video analysis. This is going to be in your library. And I want you to just introduce what the heck is going on here. This is from the Mckibbin Channel, which is awesome. Guys, if you have not subscribed to the Mckibbin Channel, what are you doing in beach volleyball? Go ahead and find them on YouTube, subscribe to them, like all of their stuff. They make incredible content. And this is a king of the beach. So explain why there's no stands here and what the deal with this is.
Yeah, so this was during COVID, and so there was no beach to be played. And midway through, when the beaches were starting to get opened up again, the Mckibbins were like, hey, let's put on an event and just give people something to watch. And so they got 8 players. The one pool that you're going to be watching in this video, gosh, Taylor Crabb's insane. The video that you're going to be watching here is our pool, which is me, Triborn, Taylor Crabb, and Came Shock. The other pool was Trevor Crabb, Casey Patterson, since retired, Stafford Slick, since retired, and Avery Drost. And if anybody's wondering, why is Travis in that group? I was like, our backups, backup, emergency substitutes backup. We originally had, he was like Reed Pretty, he bailed, Miles Partain bailed, I think Andy Benish bailed. I was like the last call. And so everyone was like, all right, Rudy, you're in the game. But it was awesome. It ended up getting a decent little crowd. And of course the McKibbins did what they did. And the videos that they have from this event are more views than a lot of the AVP finals when they were streaming on YouTube. That's how
Oh,
good the McKibbins are at producing stuff.
I mean, they're so good. Just the simple angles, right? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
simple angles that everybody knows work well for filming beach volleyball, but I don't know. A lot of it gets ruined when there's live streamed, and then it seems to me, and I know that there's a lot that goes into it, but it seems to me like we're still missing, like dropping the ball by not having a live stream on every court, and the AVP just having their own YouTube channel that just crushes and crushes and crushes so that people can watch an infinite amount of beach volleyball. And instead, it's up to you, me, McKibbins to keep producing it, and the players who like post their own videos.
Yeah, and in a way, I mean, it's kind of a good thing for us because that leaves us
Great.
And so, like that's like business 101 is you just solve a problem, and we see a problem, and we're trying to solve it.
Yeah, guys, if you're not subscribed to the Sandcast, they've got a YouTube channel. Of course, you've probably read tons and tons of Travis's articles, but if you haven't gotten any one of his books, make sure you go on Amazon and you buy his books. We'll also link them below the video. But we gotta, aside from marketing everything that you do, we probably have to do some video analysis. So let's talk here. We just got a block.
Yeah.
I wanna go through your head here. So this is Try.
Yeah.
At this point, you know him, your best buds, right?
Yep. I've watched a lot of Tri-born.
So like right now, you're also his coach. So
right.
I don't want you to give away like ways to beat him, but when you're thinking that you're playing against him, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to make sure he doesn't do? And what are other teams that you're recognizing how are they trying to stop him?
Yeah. Well, in this one, I knew at this stage in Try's career, and he's gotten away from this a lot, is that I knew my goal was to not let one of his patented baby lines go down. And so when he's in the middle, he loves that little line, turn back to the line. You can see how big I'm set up in that line. And look, oh, he's going for the baby line, and it's closed. And I played him in Fort Lauderdale a couple years after this video. And that I just delay swap block the whole time. And I was like, listen, I don't care if you're bouncing left and right. I'm just waiting. JM, good luck behind there because I'm only blocking one shot, that baby line. I'm not letting it go down. And I didn't let it go down then. And I didn't let it go down in this one. So I was just defending against that when he was out of the middle. I knew he loved that shot. And so did a lot of people. And he's gotten away from it.
Well, I also want to see, like, for people who there's something that goes through high level players' minds, right? And if we look at this setup, and guys, if you want to see this on the, the full video and everything, because we're only going to go through a few plays here, but if you want to see the full video, go to the Mckibbin channel and make sure you take a look. But normally, a hitter thinks, I've gotten this far past the blocker, right? Like Travis knows that he's seeing that cross is wide open. He's almost blown past you to the point where something strange happens when you play that mind game. A hitter goes, there's no way he's going to leave cross that open.
Right.
Like it was too easy to blow past you. And then he might think or anticipate that, like, because it's so obvious, like, no, this is a trap. Something smells wrong. But you chose, like, no. I'm going to go obvious line and block obvious line. And so there's a little like double mind game there.
Right. And I've gotten away from that. I've gotten away from that a little bit because what I found was that I was actually, when I lined up too much into the line on a frequent basis, I was just giving it away. At this point, I'd never played. This is the first time I ever played against Try. So he didn't know that. But I also, I play the percentage games. And when you're that far into the middle of the court, the lowest percentage swing you have is sharp angle. So I don't care if you're going to hit that and you're going to make this glorious swing out of it and bounce it, because it's a low percentage swing. And sometimes even when they get it, it's almost good for me because that makes them think that it's available, when if you hit it 10 times, you're going to miss more often than not. So I'll just say, have it. Take the sharp angle. I'm going to take the higher percentage swing away from you.
Okay. And you think that, well, it'll depend on the player for what their higher percentage swing is.
Right. Exactly.
And then you also got to have that agreement with your defender, right? Like, hey, if he does come out of the middle, you're essentially one-on-one against him in this scenario.
Yep.
And that to have that type of mentality as a defender, like, oh, okay, I'm responsible for one shot, one side. That makes you so comfortable if you submit to that. If you
Oh
like
yeah.
don't try to need to get the high line. We talk a lot about that when you have like a natural two block where defender just stays down the line really obviously and blocker block cross. It's rare. And guys, if you're playing BA AA tournaments, please stop doing the two block. Like it should be 1 to 2 times per set, period. Stop running two blocks. But you don't believe, the hitter sometimes just doesn't believe that you'll sit on that line and leave a football
It's
field.
so trippy. And you know who is so good at that is the guy who just hit that cut shot right to me, Taylor Crabb. He runs that two block as well as anyone because he just sits there. And you're like, there's no way. So I'd make the pass and I look at him and he's just sitting there in the line. And I'm starting my approach and I look at him and he's just sitting in the line. And I'm like, he can't possibly stay there. And so of course I hit a high line and Taylor's like, what are you? I told you I was here. Because it's trippy as a hitter sometimes, man, when they're just like lining up and they give up the whole angle. You're like, there's no way that they're just going to stay there. And it can be really trippy. And that's why when you have that balance of running those big angles and mix in a three, which a three is a late line move by the blocker, and then the defender is swooping in for the cut shot. It's such a good cat and mouse and chess game where you can run like 2 or 3 big angles in a row, and then you spring the three on them, and you're going to get a free point.
Yeah, I do like that combo. Most people don't think about for a long time. They don't think about their plays, like their strategy plays, as a combination that works in a series of 4 or 5 side out attempts. Like not a series of 4 or 5 plays in a row because that's different. But 4 or 5 side out attempts, which means that when you're serving them, okay, we should be thinking, how are we going to get the 4th or the 5th point? Not necessarily. I mean, there's sometimes when you're thinking, let's get this point. But if you're doing it knowledgeably or you're running tests or you're trying to figure out what they're doing and what they're seeing, then you have to have your certain combinations of plays that help you discover what they're seeing.
Right.
So one of them, go ahead.
I'd say Todd Rogers was the best at that. I mean, he's called the professor for a reason. I remember talking to Theo Brunner about it a long time ago, and Theo, they would just be letting the example that Theo had, they're playing Dave McKenzie. McKenzie was just hitting cut shot and a cut shot and a cut shot and a cut shot. And Theo was like, Todd, like, we got to pick up the cut shot. And Todd was like, just wait for it. And then when they're up 18-16, Todd goes, all right, now we'll get the cut shot, scoops it, puts it away, 19-16. Now McKenzie doesn't have his bailout, his get out of jail card. So he's a little bit nervous. They give up the next one, 20-16, score again, 21-16. So to someone who's just looking at the scoreboard, that's a blowout. To McKenzie and his partner, they're like, oh, we were just there. But that was the magic of Todd Rogers, is that he would just dangle the carrot and drag you along, and then he'd spring the trap at just the right time. He was playing the long game to score when he needed the points, when it was most important. And that takes a lot of confidence and trust in your offense to know that you're going to be in a winnable position late in a game. But that's why Todd was so good, because he was so consistent on offense that he was able to play the chess match the way he wanted to and get the points exactly when he needed them.
I think Ricardo's like that too.
Yep.
Hayden to some extent, where they're like,
time.
Wait, you'll see. Like just wait. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. And then having that, number one, having the faith in your offense, and number two, having the patience of knowing exactly what you gave up and why you gave up. That's what gives you the patience. It's like if you're playing chess and you're 4 moves in and you haven't got them in checkmate yet, a beginner chess player trying for the first time, they're like, what the heck? How do I beat him? How do I beat him? Right. And the experienced guys are like, well, we've got another 2 hours left here. So
exactly. Yeah. And Try always talks about, because when he was new, he's like, dude, like I went 21-19 with Todd Rogers. And then he had this realization. He's like, oh, that means nothing. And
Nothing.
it's if you watch high level matches, if you watch a qualifier team play a main draw team, you'll see a lot of 11-10 technical timeouts, and you will see that become 16-12 on an alarming amount of occasions, because the main draw team just waits, they see what you're doing, they get your troubleshooting pattern, and bam, then they start running the right plays at the right times, and they just eat you up. And my first main draw in Austin of 2018, I was up 11-10, both technical timeouts of my first match against Billy Allen and Ryan Doherty. Both times I went down 16-12. 6-1 switches both times, because Billy was like, all right, we got him now. And here we're going to spring everything we've been waiting for. And they just smoked us.
Yeah. The guys and especially like the parents and the friends of the players, they're like, oh, they almost had him. It was so close. It's 21-18, like 18 against pro players. And you're like, they didn't decide to turn anything on because they didn't need to. It's like, I'm doing a lot of jujitsu now, and it's like, if they've got you in a chokehold, like, they don't need actual effort. They don't even need to be strong there. They'll just wait you out until you tire yourself out.
Yeah, they just put the cruise control at 60 miles an hour, and they wait, and then like, okay, now we'll get to the finish line.
Yeah. And I've been there. I think I've definitely been on both sides of it, where I was like, we got him. And then Gibb just goes ka-tunk, ka-tunk, ka-tunk. And it's all of a sudden,
it's over.
17-17 to 2017. I'm like, how did that happen? All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's do some actual filming now. So we can talk shop forever. So if you're giving advice to blockers who also have to run up, right? Somebody who has to serve and be there. Yep. What are the top three things that you need to tell them if you're giving them a blanket statement for just everything? Like, you can't talk to them after that. You have to give advice to 1,000 people who you don't know. You just know that they serve and block. What would your
I would say have an understanding of how much real estate you're going to have to cover. So in this right here, I serve, I run up, I pull, and then I transition set. That's a lot of work. And so Kame will get a lot of credit here for making the play. So I serve, I run up, and then watch. Now I have to get all the way back and change directions. And then I'll pull. So that's extra running. So I'm covering about 16 meters already. And then Kame fills the seam perfectly on this, takes my space nicely. And then he makes a nice play. Then I have to change direction again. Get in, find where he needs the set, go back, get ready to cover, which I don't do because I trust my hitter, of course. And then Kame puts away. So the compound interest of that's going to add up on a hot day. So have an understanding. One, if you're getting served and you're serving and you're running up and you're blocking, and if you're a pulling blocker, you need to have the cardiovascular fitness and just the stamina in your legs to get you through a match, because I think one of the most underrated elements of that is that's going to affect your offense a lot more than you realize. I was so much better on offense when I was just float serving, or hilarious enough, I was way better on offense and optioning when I wasn't getting served, because my legs were just that much more fresh.
Yeah.
So I would say be aware of the real estate you're covering. So an angle to angle serve as a blocker running up is a huge gamble. So when you're doing that, because you are covering a lot of ground. So say if I were to serve Taylor, who's playing on the right side in this, if I were to serve him from my right side all the way across the court with a left side player who options well, like Try, who's right-handed, if that serve isn't great, it's a one-on-one now between Try and Kame. I'd basically just be hosing Kame every time. And so I think if you're a blocker and you're going to serve a right-sider who's playing with a left side player who's right-handed and a good optioner, you need to be coming out of the middle, or it needs to be a line to line, or you better have a very good serve that's going to produce a pass that is unoptionable, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble on a lot of cases.
I think that's another vote for line to line. Like, Alzina when we were doing the USA development team. He was constantly just preaching line to line serve, line to line serve. If there was just one team that would commit to line serve in all different versions, short, deep, flat, like all line to line, he goes, that team would see a humongous difference. But, and then I go back and I watch a couple of my other matches where it's just these kind of generic, soft, archy float serves going at somebody's chest. And it's like, man, if you just decide to ping little fastballs, like I'm not saying unload on a float serve, but ping float serves and then up, middle to flat, and then the short ones. I think that's how you choose to abuse one receiver instead of saying, I'm going to serve this person the whole time. The speech or the talk should be, I'm going to make this person suffer through the entire next 2 sets and like have to chase and have to deal with me throwing a whole bunch of junk at him. But that line to line, I like what you said there, that serving cross for a run up blocker, you're actually having to take another 2 to 3 more powerful steps every single time you serve. And over a tournament, you're toast.
You're toast. And just over the course of a match, is with the way that the game is going at the highest level, it's getting faster. There's more options. There's more jump setting. And so the longer it takes you to get set up at the net, the more opportunities they have to get an open net. Where if I were to serve Taylor angle to angle and he passes in front and then runs a back shoot, well, now I have to worry about try optioning. So I have to hold with him, or do I chase Taylor? It's just not a good solution. I think Stefan Bormans right now, the Netherlands, is doing such a masterful job of that, where he pretty much dunked on the Swedes and he never served angle, never did it. And because he knows that he's not going to be able to front anyone, he can't get there in time.
Were you commenting that game?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I could not believe it. But if you're a blocker running up, I think angle to angle is the most dangerous serve there is.
Huh. I like that. That's actionable right there. Whoever's listening.
So middle line, middle short, line to line, line to middle, but angle to angle is you got to have a good reason to do it.
Yeah. And it sucks because that's the one that you can wind up on the most, even if you're like jump serving.
Yep.
And that's the one that you can wind up on the most because you have the most space. But even, it's really not going to pay off unless you can unload.
And even that, you have the most space, but volleyball is just geometry. What's the shortest distance between points? Line to line. You can hit a line to line way faster than you can hit an angle to angle. You might be able to put more power on the angle to angle, but they also have more time to pass it. So it kind of negates itself sometimes.
Speaking of which, Travis now, that's his at least third serve going line to line. So he's listening. Tries. Now, all right. So you get an outside down the line pass. He slides you. Do you outside?
So this is let's see. Yeah, this is the try serving. This is me passing in game setting.
Yep. Sorry, I know who you all are. I just mixed up the names.
Well, it's hard because me and Try we're like built similar, and we're wearing the same exact shorts, so it's hard to tell us apart.
So he served you. Maybe, I don't know if he's trying to get you outside. If I want somebody to hit from the outside, one of the ways to do that is by dragging them to the outside. I mean, especially short and outside will help them hit from that intent if that's where I want them to set up. Again, very similar to chess. Like, where do I want them attacking from? Where do I want them weak from? So I need to set up my pieces that way. I think people serve and then they don't have a secondary plan. It's like, how can you literally draw out their play for them? Put them in the pieces. So he gets you to the sideline.
Yep.
Is this where you're comfortable?
So in this situation, so now that this was in 2020, so this was 4 years ago, and now whenever I get served to my sideline, I do my best because I have that understanding now that I didn't then, that when they serve me to my sideline, that's where they want me attacking from. So if I were to take that same serve now, I'm going to be trying to pass in front and run a back set to take that away from them, because now the play's back in my control. I've flipped the control, but here that is what I wanted, because the wind is coming off the ocean, which is on the left side of our screen.
Gotcha.
And so I'll always like running sets with the wind, because it makes it easier for the offense to track. It makes it easier for the setter to set. And so here I just get outside. They set up really early in a baseline defense, and I take Try's shot that he has mastered, and I use it myself. There's a cute little baby line. Thank you, Try, for teaching me that.
Nice. Interesting. Okay, so you're trying to disrupt a defensive plan where if somebody serves you line to line, you're now saying like, whatever plan you had, I'm going to throw a wrinkle in it, and I'm going to run a back set. I think back sets like Andor Galia, he had beach volleyball one-on-one. I think he still has it.
Andor July.
Yes, yeah, Andor.
Yeah.
He was coaching, what's his name? Ben Vaught and Clemens. And they were constantly running back. And he was like, well, because you're confusing the offense, you're making them make constantly new decisions. So whatever plan they had, most people don't have the full discussion of when they go back, we set up here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you've already made them off balance from the very start just by running a back set.
Yeah. You know what? One of my favorite things to do as an offensive player is to pass in front and run a back set without actually changing sides of the court, because then that throws people for a real loop, because you ran a back set, but you haven't actually changed the side you're attacking. So you'll get so many defenses to double up on you because they don't know what to do in that situation. And so I love passing in front, running a mini back set that I'm still attacking from just like 4 feet from the pin. But because I ran a back set, the blocker might think he's going one place and the defender might think he's doing another, and you'll just get a completely open half the court.
Yeah. And I mean, me and Brandon constantly argued about when people ran a back set. I was like, I'm just taking the side of the court that I promised, which means you don't have to move. I'm blocking. You take the side of the court that you were going to be at anyway, so there's no extra movement. That's the problem. And he was like, couldn't make it compute in his head. And he always wanted when we switched, just stick with the sign that we called. And to me, that didn't make sense, because you're always going like, if somebody wants to hit off of one side of their body, they're probably going to be comfortable biomechanically hitting that same shot from the other side. Right. So like if I'm generally a cross body hitter, or I've got a really good cross body cut from the left, I'll probably be a high line and want to use that cross body mechanics.
Yep.
That's not an exclusive rule that I would give to people, but I think in general. And then, okay, if they're making the blocker move because they're running a back set, fine. I don't also want my defender moving. I want them to just sit where you promised you would sit, so you can be ultra balanced, and only one of us is going to move because of this back set, instead of having both of us having to switch places all of a sudden. And that to me is the problem, or one of the negatives or cons, when people run a back set and then their team sticks to the sign that they called versus the side. But how do you do it? And how would you recommend that teams at different levels do it?
Well, one of my favorite things as an offensive player about running a back set is that you get all the pieces moving, and it makes your vision as an offensive player that much better, because now you can see the defender moving, you can see the blocker moving, and you can see where there might be an imbalance in their relationship. And when you see that imbalance, you're going to know where they're going. As Kent Steffes likes to say, beach volleyball it's a simple game, Trav. You just hit it where they're not. And when you have that vision, you know where they're not a lot easier. So I like what you said, where the simpler move you can make on defense when they're running a back set, the better. And I always liked, a lot of people will have the blocker sort of tap a side of their butt, which way they're going. I don't like that, because as an offensive player, I look for it.
You actually look for it?
1,000%. And while we're on the topic of Brandon Clemens would put up a flare gun. I mean, he'd be running, he'd be like, and I was like, all right, He's blocking there. Line's easy. Lev Prima used to do it a lot. And I was like, oh, appreciate you, Lev. And so I always I'll put both hands back and I will point my thumb to which side I'm taking.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's easy for the defender to see. The offense doesn't know it. And I love it when blockers tap. So if I'm playing again and you're blocking, I would love it if you tap which side just to let me know.
All right. Well, now I'm just gonna
Yeah,
now I'm gonna use
yeah,
my fist in open hand calls because
Yeah,
I also don't
that's
like
easy.
when you're in the middle of the court, right? And then you call like line or
Yep.
cross and nobody knows
Right.
what you're doing. So I
Exactly.
like leaving one fist closed and one fist. My open
Yep.
hand shows me a side that I'm blocking.
Yep. That's perfect.
Yeah. I want to just take a look at this. I've always thought Try's block moves were elite.
Oh,
I
his
mean,
footwork is unbelievable.
like unbelievable, and how low he can be, and how
Can't
strong
see
and
him.
stable he is when he's low.
Yep.
So they've got essentially a 2 set up. That means that he looks like he's going to block cross, but he's not really set up early in that.
Well, this
So
is,
he's
I can
setting up.
guarantee you, if you pause it here, I guarantee you from how big of a move Trive makes that we have a 3 incoming. And I can see it on screen, but I don't think I can see it on this approach because when Try gets there, and one of the big reasons I love doing this as a blocker, I want to make a huge move like Try did. I want them to see me and then I dive back. Now watch, I can almost guarantee you this is a 3. And because you can see Taylor's already moving, Try's jumping back. And I think I hit a cut shot that Tay's going to scoop or something angle. Yeah. And so they executed that 3 perfectly because they showed me big time where they were and I got fooled by it. And then Taylor kind of made a mistake in transition. But they set that play up beautifully where I'm coming in. Watch how early Taylor is. Watch how early Try is. It's like, all right, obviously this is a 2 block coming in. And then you see the size of that move. A lot of times when blockers make huge moves, or at least I noticed on me as a player, when I see them making like an exaggerated move almost, I was like, all right, I don't think that's where you're going to stay.
At that high level.
At that high level. But in this case, they run it magnificently. They trip me up and I get lucky in transition that Tay kind of makes a mistake on a low line.
Yeah. And, like there's different ways to set this up. This is a 3 block, and there's different ways to set this up. You can set it up by having the blocker and the defender sit there and wait. So in other words, just hold it in the cross, right? And then switch at the last minute. You can do what Taylor's doing a little bit of is sliding into the line, right? Showing movement because the eyes are more attracted to movement. So the attacker's eyes will actually pick it up better. You'll see the information that you want to give them better with that movement that Taylor did and that big move that Try did. So now he's really trying to make you believe, okay, Try is in the 2, he's blocking diagonal, and Taylor had shifted into the line. But here's, I think, what makes Try different as a blocker. From this position, it's pretty difficult to tell that he's coming back because you'll see a lot of blockers make this move and have a full tilt in their body to where they're going, right? Like you'll see their shoulders before they jump leaning back, and it's so obvious before they even take off, okay, I'm hitting right where you were because you were definitely leaning back. And I think Try here gets really good at keeping his, you see, even when he starts his upward movement, his right is below. His right shoulder's below his left.
He's so good at it. And like when I'm running a 3, I'm like, you can't see me. I'm totally balanced. Oh, I'm going this way. It's so obvious, man. Then watch Try do it and all these experts. I think the best team on the planet at running 2s and 3s and the varieties of them is Andy Benish and Miles Partain. If you want to watch a team who can mix in they have 15 different calls for 2s and 3s. And that's how varied their approaches are, because it'll be based on like how many shuffles Miles is doing. Is he straight up? Is he doing a shuffle seam, shuffle line, shuffle seam, then back to the line? It's that complex. If you want to watch a masterclass on 2s and 3s, just go watch Andy Benish and Miles Partain and watch their film, and they are masters at it. Andy has to be leading the world in line blocks. Has to be, because he runs that 3 so well.
And he's got I mean, this is not taking away anything from him, but his arms are so long that he can be hit with his body in the
Yep.
cross, and he can be blocking
And
line.
full lateral.
And
Yeah.
a 6'2", 6'3" guy, 6'4", 6'5", might not have that unless you're like kind of like a Casey Patterson, where your arms are 7'1", but your body's 6'6".
Right.
Like it's crazy the amount of space that he can take up from a different spot. But that doesn't
Yep.
mean, and this is why like I had that reel that always gets a few views, when I go stop watching Andy Mole to learn how to block. Like,
Yeah.
you
He's
don't
nailing
have
him.
a 38-inch vertical. You're not 6'9", and your arms aren't like 6'11". So if you're trying to learn his technique where you're throwing hands everywhere, you just don't have that ability. You need a small block coach versus a bigger blocker coach.
Yeah, it's similar. I read this story on how Steph Curry is ruining youth basketball because you got kids just pulling up from half court, and they're like, you can't do that. Steph can do that, but you shouldn't do that. It's the same thing with Anders. I watch Anders. I'm like, I watch Anders just for entertainment purposes, but I could never try to mirror what he's doing. No, like no one can. You have to be such a freak. And on the women's side, if we have any women watching, same rule applies for a Brandy Wilkerson and a Tina Gradina, where they're able to make these aerial moves that your normal human beings aren't going to be able to make. So I always favor watching the disciplined blockers that are human. So one of my favorites is David Schweiner of the Czech Republic. He's 6'7". He's not like, that's not huge by world tour standard, but all of his moves are just so fundamental, where I like watching blockers who just take advantage of mistakes. That's a blocker's main job. And Anders Mole, he does that, but he also makes the spectacular. Schweiner, once you hit it, if you hit in the tape, it's getting blocked. And Phil Dahlhauser actually told me that. He said, if you watch a match, Phil Dahlhauser will hit the tape probably 2 or 3 times per match. Ricardo, Alisson, they'll hit the tape 2 or 3 times per match. You can be 5'5". If you get your hand over the net, you can block that. And Phil told me that was a game changer for me. He's like, all you need to do is get your hands over the net. And if you're taking your job, you're just going to use their mistakes, and you'll get your block and a half, 2 blocks per set, no problem.
2.5 blocks would be nice. Oh my God. Is that real? Was that real?
Kamer!
Oh my God.
Kame flies, dude. Dude, Kame is the most deceiving jumper out there. He probably jumps like 38.
Oh, he gets I used to train with him at Velocity, and just seeing the way that he elevated like on the Vertimax is just, he was like, man, God, you don't look like much, and then you do all that.
And then just ping.
Yeah.
I have a fun note that me and Kame are undefeated together in practices. We've never lost. We beat Try and Tay 21 at 12, I think. Trevor loved this.
Oh. This is so good. Short serve. Again, probably the most underrated.
Short middle is devastating.
That's how we got our win against Kyle and Leela. It was like 16, 16, 16, 16, and then Logan goes, I'm going to summon Sinjin here. Let's serve short. And I served short 3 balls in a row. We got 3 points in a row. And I was like,
Sinjin. most underrated weapon, man. Short serve.
This is silly.
Kapow.
And for everybody who, again, this is something that we go with at our camps and our classes. For the BA, AA, everybody, open players, when the blocker passes a free ball, don't look for your partner. Just set that ball up wherever you're facing, 2 to 3 feet off your shoulders, or hopefully your defender just says middle, and don't look for them. Just pass it high at 3 to 4 feet and make it so that it's hittable and or settable. But you'll get open nets like this. Instead of trying to wonder and pass it backwards to where you think they are, leave it along the net. They'll choose whether they want to hit or set. And more often than not, they should be on that hitting train and coming forward for an open net. That's a really nice layup, Trev.
Yeah, that was and those are hard plays to make when you get that overpass like a foot from the net. It's kind of a reaction play. So that was one of my better sets, and I appreciate Kamer for making it look pretty good too.
He did make that look pretty good. Oh, the Sandcast team.
Yeah. Yeah, we had this was a little adverse for the boys. Me and Try, I think, are 0 for, as me and Cam are undefeated. I think me and Try are 0 for together. We're better in a podcast studio together.
Isn't that funny how sometimes like there are just some teams that just don't work together, no matter
Yeah.
how like friendly or great you want to be together, and on paper it might be perfect, but it's just our skill sets just do not match with each other in any way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
we're
it's like
always, morale stays high when we lose because we're butts. But yeah, which Taylor, by the way, this is awesome. Taylor's dig here. I mean, he like teleports. Watch him from. So this is a big angle block. Watch him freaking teleport. So I think that I hit a pretty darn good cut shot here, but this is just Taylor being the most intuitive, instinctive player. This is not a 3. This is just big angle, and Taylor's like, all right, I've seen this cut shot about 400 times in my life. We're going to take it. And I thought I hit an awesome cutty, and Taylor just like, bug life, perfect
Jesus,
dig. Yeah. It like
so much.
unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, he covers the whole court, gets the ball, digs this at its lowest point. Perfect, like right into Kame's platform. And then half a step close and still puts that swing on it. I mean, that's why Tay is Tay.
And I think he talked. I think it might have been on your podcast, where he talks about like his visual memory. Like he's like, when I see something for the second time, it just sticks, and I know what it looks like. And he ran this play earlier, and both times you didn't go hard line, right? So they set up like a clear 2, and you didn't choose to bang down the line. So I think part of him is also like, number one, crazy athleticism. But number 2, he goes, we set this play up twice already, and this is what Travis did. He went over cross and overcut. And so now he's kind of anticipating that, and he can leave a little bit sooner and just jet, like knowing that that's coming. And if you do hit hard line here, great, but it's still a good theory to go by because he's got a couple of examples where he's already like said, okay, by those 2 or 3 examples, we should have proven this, and this is where he executes on it.
Yeah, and as a hitter, I generally try to keep the ball as far away from Taylor as possible. If I see him in the line, I'm like, all right, if I swing line, it's got to be a really good swing to beat a Taylor Crab. And I thought I hit a good cut shot. I'd hit that same shot again over and over and over again and make that play. I think as an offensive player, if you're making them make plays like that, you're doing your job.
Ooh, just high. Just Kame being high.
Yeah.
All right. Dude, good session. So we're going to stop sharing this screen as soon as I figure out how to work my cursor. There we go. And this is a part of your masterclass. It's going to live on the Complete Player Program library on betterbeach.com. So, guys, if you want to help support Travis, of course, hunt him down so that he can use his link and you can learn from him. He's also going to be doing this analysis with Nicole on the next video. So she's an elite member, which means that she gets one private every 3 months, a private video analysis every 3 months. And she also gets to meet with us not in person, on video calls during the week so that we can discuss workouts, nutrition, mindset, strategy, technique, and everything. And she comes to our camps. So she's all in. That's it. I think that's it. So, Travis, any parting words for the people who are either watching live or are currently in your course?
Well, shoot, I appreciate anybody who's going to hang out with me and chat beach volleyball. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. So, and if anybody enjoys this stuff, I'll nerd out on beach volleyball all day long.
Yes, you will. Cool. So we promised that Nicole would be able to ask a few questions from that analysis, if any came up. And then after this last little mini Q&A with Nicole, then we're going to go into her private room and do her video analysis. So Nicole, did anything pop up there that you thought wasn't clear, you wanted some clarity on, or just general comments? Nicole?
Oh, she's
Yeah.
back.
I think my biggest question is you said when you're looking at teams that are kind of at the technical, it's like 10-11, and then they pull ahead. You said it's because they've like figured it out. They figured out your strategy. What kinds of things are they looking for? Or like what kinds of things are they figuring out at that point so that they can execute it?
That's a great question. And Jake Gibb described it in one of my favorite ways where he said we're able to lock into a player's troubleshooting pattern. And what I mean by that is what is their reaction after they get blocked? Or what do they do if we dig their high line? And as you go up in level, it's much more difficult to lock into a troubleshooting pattern. But the most common is what Misty May calls an AB player. If A doesn't work, we're going B. If B doesn't work, we're going back to A. So if we dig a high line, pretty high likelihood that they're not going to hit that high line. That's one of the most basic human reactions is if something doesn't work, we're not going to try it again. And so they'll go to something else. So one of my favorite, and this is, I used to call him out on this all the time. I used to play against Ben Vaught a lot. And if I blocked him angle, there was a 10,000% chance he was not going to swing angle again. So I knew that I could just leave it. And so without that available, so now his options are cut shot, swing line, or high line. And so now we could base our defense knowing that he really only had 3 shots left because he didn't hit that high angle a lot. And so I would a lot of times just pull into the cut shot, let my defender move late into the line, and then you start to make runs of points. And that's what you see at the highest level is they lock into a troubleshooting pattern and then they start calling the right plays because they know how you'll react or have a good idea of how you'll react after something happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Nice.
Good question.
Yeah, it is. That is a good question, and it's tough to pick up on because there's some people don't know what the hell they're doing, right? Like they go up and they hit, but I like that you said how they react to mistakes instead of what they're trying to do. Because it might be easier for some people to figure out one or the other, right? It might be easier to figure out this person only hits cross. You know, no matter what happens, they only hit cross. Or after every dig, they get super excited and all they want to do is mash. Or after every dig, they get so excited and they're always early, and so they always shoot.
Right.
So if you kind of just pay attention to all of those little stats along the way, and that's number one. I think we're breeding a different type of athlete right now with NCAA because coaches can be in the box. So before, the player that had to succeed was the player that had to be a statistician. And that's something that I never was while I was playing. I was always just paying like 1 point at a time. It only took me until like when I started towards the end of my career, when I was less actually like physical and interested in competing hard, but more interested in the mental game to say like, I kind of figured it out. But you have to, yeah. Where was I going? Sometimes you just talk.
As Michael Scott would say, that train of thought derailed. There were no survivors.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, you got to learn some other players, and you got to learn how to speak publicly and keep your train of thought going. But yeah, paying attention to what's going on, how people react in different, like whether they're being offensive and they know what they're doing or not, and then how they do it based on their mistakes. I loved that comment. I love that piece of advice because that's when they're predictable, when they're in trouble.
Yeah, and it's important. I always like to clarify that all you're doing is you're picking up on tendencies. These aren't answers. And what the best teams do is they pick up on tendencies and they're increasing the probabilities of it going in their favor. And so even when you pick up on the right tendencies and you increase the odds, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to score every time. It just means that what once was a 1 out of 3 play maybe now is a 2 out of 4. And you're just slowly increasing your percentages the more you pick up on those little data points. And so eventually, as the match goes on, those percentages are going to go in your favor. That's why all the elite teams, I think Phil and Todd won something like 45 straight 3-setters. And Anders and Christian, their record in 3 sets is obscene because of that. Because the longer you play it out, the more you increase your odds by picking up on those data points and those tendencies, the more the match is just going to regress back to the mean, and the team increasing their percentages the most is going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured out what I was going to say now that you're saying that, is that we're breeding that different type of athlete in the NCAA that might not need to keep stats because their coach can pay attention to that. Right. You know, whereas before you had to be the statistician and the executor. It's some of the people who are coming through NCAA now. Are they prepared? It seems like they really are, you know, because our NCAA girls are crushing it as soon as they get to pro, and even before they graduate college, they're crushing it. But I think the elite of the elite will always have the visual and statistical memory and awareness of what's been happening in the game, and then how to execute.
Yep, they're just the mental computer. It's always going.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Everybody, thanks for watching Travis Mewhirter's masterclass and joining us. And Nicole and Trav, you guys stay on the horn. We're going to get to the next video. Guys, members, if you are inside here, so you're not watching live, if you're inside the course, go ahead to the next video and finish up Travis's masterclass. Thank you.